up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another Sound of Violence Daily MMA podcast recap for April 16th, 2020. Man, it's been a little bit since we've done one of these. I have had a crazy week, which has kind of prevented me from doing it. Between that and editing and other stuff going on around here, I just have been swamped and hungover for a lot of these, so definitely makes a daily show tough. However, I have been listening to a ton of stuff, most of the last 24 hours or so, 24 to 48 hours. I've been playing a lot of catch-up. I'm trying to listen to shows that I haven't caught before. But before we get to that, let's start with something fun, right? So, I made a cocktail this week. Shouts out to my sweet False Idol mug or False Idol glass that I'm rocking. With the fucking False Idol stir going official real-ass tiki this week. Since I made a painkiller, made famous by, I believe, the Soggy Bottom... Nope. God damn it, I did the thing Greg from How to Drink does. I believe it's the Soggy Dollar Bar, is the name of it. And it's an old school tiki drink. It's kind of like a variation on a... what's that white drink that everybody likes that's just all coconut and sugar? I can't think of it. You blend it. It's all coconut and sugar. They give you one of those like neon cherries in it. I enjoy them. I just never ever get them. What the pina colada? Jesus Christ! I had to think of the song to figure it out. This is like a adult version of a pina colada. I believe it's painkiller number 2, which is 3 shots of. I believe number 1 is 2 shots, or not 2 shots. Number 1 is 2 ounces of rum. Number 2 is 3 ounces of rum, and number 3 is 4 ounces of rum, if I remember right. And I am actually using, since I just got a shipment in, shouts out. I want to give shouts out, not a sponsor or anything. I guess they gave me 10%, but it's because they fucked up my order. But Astor Wines out in New York ships booze. I've always had a good experience with them. I've heard about them from Greg from How to Drink, and they have a bunch of shit for like really affordable prices, and it's pretty fantastic. I got a couple bottles of the just like the straight up Heaven Hill bourbon that Heaven Hill makes. If you guys don't know Heaven Hill, look up some of the other brands that they own. You'd be surprised. But Heaven Hill's just like straight bourbon is like $11 a bottle, and it's delicious. So I got that. I got some of the Mellow Corn, which I can't find anywhere, but Mellow Corn is like one of those affordable whiskeys that everybody seems to really like and thinks is interesting. So I got that. I got some Ray and Nephew, which I'm going to tell you the truth. I was not ready to drink overproof rum right now. And so that's why I went with the other rum I got, which is one that the dude Greg from How to Drink always recommends, is Smith & Cross. I've not had this before. So I have a sweet Betty White shot glass I'm going to be using for this. I don't know if you guys can tell. I somehow ended up with 2 sets of Golden Girls shot glasses because my girlfriend boozes it up and really likes the Golden Girls, I guess. I don't know. I think that's how I ended up with them. But I have not had this Smith & Cross. I've heard great things. It's immediately definitely on the funky side. Like, I guess the funky Jamaican rum that everybody would know and has had is Myers, that's the dark rum where you have it and you're like, this is not at all sweet and mellow like everyone expects it to be. You're thinking of Gosling's. Gosling's is sweet and mellow. Myers is like banana funk to the max. And this is more towards, it's definitely way more on the funky side. I guess to be fair, I should technically be doing, I think it's a pot still rum, right? No, wait, this is a pot still rum. Yeah, this is pot still. Technically, I should be doing a blended aged rum, according to the Smuggler's Cove book that the people who own Smuggler's Cove and False Idol down here in San Diego talk about. There's like a whole breakdown of which rums you should be using. Technically, I should be using one of the like blended aged ones, stuff like I guess Poosers technically says they own the rights to make this drink, which they can go fuck themselves. I'm sure if I made any money from any of this, they would be very litigious about me saying that. But I don't make any money from any of this, so I don't know what you want from me. I guess also you could use stuff like Plantation 5-year. I think I only have 3-year right now. Yeah, I think I have a little bit of 3-year left. Or no, you know what? I have 3-star left, not 3-year. And so I went with just the Smith & Cross because I want to try it out. So cheers first off to the shot. Super banana funk. That's really good. Definitely on the funky side, but not like anywhere near a Myers. A lot more like sweetness, like molassesy seems lazy when you talk about rum and saying molasses sweetness, but it's definitely more on that side, or maybe even like more on the cane sugar side. It's definitely got a legit sweetness to it, but it's not like all really dry like you get with I'm using Myers for a comparison because I think not a lot of people drink darker rums or just different rums that aren't spiced rums, you know? I think most people just drink spiced rum, light rum, or dark rum, and everybody just uses Myers for dark rum. But yeah, man, that's really good. Wow, it's really good on its own. I bet it's going to be really fucking good in this, in the painkiller. Oh, that's dangerous. You can't even taste that. Oh my god, I forget how dangerous this drink is. I'll put a link in the description for the video that Greg from How to Drink does. Because that's the recipe I always use. And yeah, it's super crushable. Just be aware of that, because it'll get you in trouble if you're not careful. Anyway, not a booze show, despite my best efforts. Although, I don't know, if I have a couple more sips of this might become a booze show. Oh, it's super good. Oh, man. I even grated some nutmeg on top. I'm garnishing and everything at this point. It's delicious. It's easy to make, too. It's just rum, some coconut milk or coconut syrup, depending on what you got. Orange juice and pineapple juice. Super straightforward, but super delicious. Anyway, I will start rattling off some of the shows I've been listening to, so I do have a handful to get to. I started off with Anik and Florian this week, episode 245. Really liked that a lot. They had Brian Stan on, as well as Ray Longo and Ian Parker. I enjoyed the entire thing. I mean, I always like hearing from Brian Stan, but it's cool kind of getting his take on how all this shit is just going sideways, and also him trying to deal with like employees and contracts and stuff that he does for his work, which I found pretty interesting. Ian Parker, the duck, holding it down as always. I'm really starting to like Ian Parker on that show more and more the more he's on. He's just a good time. Ray Longo had a tree fall on his house. What the fuck? Like, there's a lot that went on in that episode. Not to mention, evidently, which I did hear clinking ice at one point in this episode, or no, clinking glasses, I think it was. One of the two. And I was like, I wonder what, maybe that was just me bumping something in my office, or maybe it was somebody in the other room bumping something. And then later on, Ian Parker points out, like, John, are you boozing right now at 1:40 in the afternoon in Florida? Which, evidently he was. So that's pretty great. I'm a big fan, as you can tell with my here. Cheers. Painkiller number 2. So good. Let's see. Some other stuff I listened to. Co-Main Event Podcast, episode 397 was really solid. A lot of talk around 249 getting canceled. And just Dana's insane persistence to go forward. And whether or not he's stubborn to a fault. They also discussed whether this affects the UFC's relationship with Disney, more specifically ESPN, but Disney also, going down the line, since they both had to literally step in. And based on the May 9th rumors, it seems like we're going to start seeing... I forget who mentioned this week. I believe it was Trent Reinsmith, who is so underrated. Man, is that guy underrated. Because he just poses questions that should be posed at, like, I don't know, every single media thing that's ever involved with the UFC trying to put an event on during a goddamn pandemic. But he posed the question whether or not we are going to see, like, trying to figure out how to word this the right way without being accusatory, but whether or not. It just completely goes up and then fucking nukes it. God damn it. Alright, looks like I'm back maybe. Shocking that killing Skype immediately fixed absolutely everything. I'm so surprised. Oh my god, that's so annoying. And there it goes again. Okay, we're back, baby. Fucking, I'm just gonna murder everyone. Okay. Jesus Christ. Where was I? Man. You know what? I'm gonna take another sip of this drink. Painkiller. I don't know if you even heard any of that. Who knows? This is a classic example of a drink I should have put a straw in because it is gonna foam up my mustache and make me look like a fucking perv. Okay, so another done getting Skyped. I mentioned Anakin Florian. Hopefully you heard that. I listened to CME episode 397. Hopefully you heard that. And I was talking about that. One person who I did hear this week mention something interesting was Trent Reinsmith, who I've been a big fan of, especially recently. The content he's putting out is really, really top notch, and there's a reason why people are angry at it, and it's because it's good journalism. Generally, the reaction to good journalism is people not being happy, or at least not always, but like really, really hard hitting good journalism is not supposed to win you friends. At least not outside of the journalism world or the public. Well, except the public is a bunch of mouth breathers in MMA, as we've learned in the last week or two. Not anybody listens to this, I would assume, because you probably would have called me a commie queer and turned off the show by now when I mentioned Trent Reinsmith. But Trent Reinsmith did bring up a really interesting point, which is that he kind of threw out the question asking whether the UFC is currently booking a lot of these pay-per-view cards. And if you notice, they're only rebooking pay-per-view cards right now. And he tosses out the question, are they only rebooking those cards so that they can force ESPN to cancel them? And then it's still beholden to the contract if ESPN is the one canceling them. And I think that's something interesting to keep an eye on going forward. And also might be a reason not to get your hopes up about the May 9th card. I mean, who knows, right? Nobody really knows right now. But I think that's a really interesting, valid point. Definitely something to keep an eye on. So, let's see. Some other stuff I listened to. Fights Gone By. Catching up on Jeff Neal. Jack Slack did a really good episode, kind of doing a retrospective on Jeff Neal's career and kind of where he's been and some just kind of breaking down his game, some of his tendencies, stuff like that. I really enjoyed it quite a bit. Eurobash, episode 78 was very solid. Pete had an interview with Valentina, just how they talk about how crazy the last week is, and Valentina wanting to not only fight on Fight Island, but do a training camp, because of course she does. She talks about returning from surgery and all that. Wants to return around the fall, if I remember right. There's also an interview with Sean O'Malley and Graham Boylan, the head of Cage Warriors, which is pretty interesting. Okay, it looks like the stream is kind of still working, so I'm just gonna keep going. Triple G Show, the MMA Avengers for April 13th, 2020. Man. I mean, if you guys want to just put your head in the sand and pretend like nothing is happening in the world and that everything's going fine as normal, or going forward as normal, that's a good show to listen to. Our MMA show for April 14th, 2020 was really interesting. Talk about what it takes for someone to work at an event right now and kind of some of the ideas around and some of the pitches that not only health professionals have made, but also just event planners have made around how to kind of deal with this sort of situation. Jimmy also, which is interesting, mentions he was supposed to commentate Submission Underground and kind of talks about why he's not doing it and how much it would have required for him to pull that off. Of like, he would need a hotel room after he got back so that he could quarantine for 2 weeks after that. Because his house is not big enough for him to just not access not have contact with other people, which I thought was really interesting. So that was pretty cool to hear, and I liked that one quite a bit. Shawnee podcasted a Q&A for April 14th that I liked. I mean, if you're going to use the Wire intro music, you know I'm on board. MMA ratings for April 13th, 2020 was really good. Rafael interviewed Fernando Praches, and I was a big fan of that. I thought that was great. Rafael Garcia, he has a very, I would call it a genuine interview style. Like, he sounds like a dude who's just genuinely interested in the people he's talking to, and, he reminds me a little bit of, a less polished Cassius Morrison. Cassius Morrison. One of those. The young kid who was he became friends with and was actually on a part of the What's Good podcast with Freddie Lockhart and Candace. I was gonna say Owens, but that's not right. It's Candace something else, the comedian in LA. That's funny. But yeah, it was really, maybe it is Owens. No, wait, that's the political figure, right? Yeah, no, that is the commentator. Oh, wait. This isn't the same person, right? Candace, What's Good comedian? Candace Thompson. Thank God. I knew it wasn't the same person. I just had a panic attack and freaked out. I was like, oh God, am I blending these two people or am I mixing up every name? Candace Thompson did the podcast What's Good with Freddie. I almost said Freddie Gibbs. So maybe I'm just a big old racist because I cannot get names right now. But yeah, no, Freddie Lockhart, who I'm a big fan of as well, used to have Cassius Morris on. Pretty sure it's Cassius. Let me just look at Twitter since I follow him. That way I can just officially close out all of the names that I almost said the racist wrong version of. Yeah, it's Cassius Morris. He reminds me a little, anyway, so off topic, but Rafael Garcia reminds me a little bit of his interview style, where they just seem like super genuine dudes who just are curious. It's not at all formal, it's not at all polished, although Cassius is definitely more of that now, but I just appreciate kind of how genuine it is, and anytime you get Fernando Praches, See, I'm gonna have a panic attack about it because he definitely said it wrong. But then every time I hear her say it, I feel like it sounds different, and so I start freaking out. I'm gonna blame it on dialects in Brazil and say I'm nailing it, y'all. That's probably not accurate, and I apologize for being a dumb white kid. I can't help it. I really try. My dad's from Jersey, if that's any kind of, and my mom's from the Central California, if that's any kind of consolation prize for as to how I have so much trouble pronouncing things correctly. Other stuff I listened to, Sure Dogs Behind the Paywall for April 14th was very solid. That's their first episode in over a month. 40-something days, I think. So it's everything from Tiger King to coronavirus talk to Jeff breaking Jeff Sherwood broke the location for UFC 249 being at Tachi Palace, and he kind of walks through how all that happened. He also mentions that Okamoto asked him why he released the location for 249, which is a very, very weird question for a journalist to ask a former journalist why you would release a location of an event. Seems like a weird thing, y'all. But, you know, when you're doing PR for the UFC, I guess those are the kinds of questions you ask. Also, Jeff also mentions the dude from the New York Times who wrote the article quoting him never actually called him. He, like, sent him a couple DMs that were, like, not really that related to it, and then quoted him in the article about the actual news, which is a weird move, and also... Come on, New York Times. At least pick up the fucking phone. Or pick up Skype. Or, like, I don't know, man. Maybe at least ask Jeff about the story he's commenting on. Journalism is weird, y'all. And it's really concerning, I guess. I don't know. I don't have a journalism degree. These are all questions we are going to bring up to Chris this weekend. The Man in the Myth, April 16th, was really solid. They talk about the May 9th announcement, and they do a draft of lightweight picks across all organizations. Essentially, they get to pick 5 fighters, one of which can be a legend pick, so you can pick, like, motivated BJ Penn, something like that. It's interesting. They keep it specifically to lightweight, and it's a fun discussion. I like it quite a bit. The problem with having a discussion about lightweight or welterweight is you're going to have a bunch of fucking nonsense about somebody who shouldn't be involved in any of those conversations because he does not actively compete in either of the divisions. But to be fair, nobody's actively competing right now, so what's my motherfucking point? Let's see. Kawano episode 33 talks a lot about DC kind of selling some of the safety procedures around the card that was supposed to happen at Tachi, which when you listen to him and oh wow, that's funny. Trent Ryan-Smith actually makes some very salient points about the little bit of safety procedure DC is discussing kind of leaves gaping questions as to the parts where he's like, and then after the event, I would just drive home immediately. You're like, wait, what? So that would mean you're not getting tested after the event, which is a problem. That would mean you're not being quarantined after the event, which is a problem. That would mean you're going to a different city immediately after, which is a problem. And you are one of the few people who I am the least concerned about coming into contact with people. Interesting discussion for sure. And then on episode 35, he also talks about the steps required to make an event safe right now, since there was, what was it? It was, it was Real Sports, but it's HREAL, if I remember right. There was an article that a guy did about how to safely put on an event. He specifically addresses the UFC. And both the CME live chat and Trent Ryan-Smith on Come On Now both quoted that article and kind of had that discussion, which I thought was pretty interesting. The A-Side live chat for April 15th, 2020. A really good episode. This is definitely probably going to be a catch for me. I can't promise it, but it's got to be up there. It's Pete C. Carroll, so already good. And then Molly McCann is the guest on the episode, who I'm a big fan of. I like her fights, but also just Molly McCann's funny as hell. She's she has a very Darren Till way of having interviews where she will just go off on tangents and have funny stories and just be witty as shit, and I'm a big fan of it. She talks about dealing with quarantine, hating meatballs. She talks about a story about fighting a sex trafficker while working in Subway. She talks about losing to literally everyone in UFC 3. There's a lot of good stuff in that episode. The Sheehan show for April 15th, where Patrick Sheehan and Sean Sheehan do a show where Patrick asks Sean questions blind, where he hasn't looked at him going into it. That was fun. I don't know if I've caught one of those before. I think I might have caught one, but they're not related, right? Or are they related? I mean, it's Ireland, so like I'm gonna go ahead and say everyone has one of like 10 last names. It's like in America where everyone is a Smith or a Johnson or a, I don't know, pick a last name that is very popular in the UFC. But I can't tell with Irish names what's common and what isn't because we have too many like variations on Irish names. I know Sheehan is fairly common because I follow multiple Sheehans on Twitter that's not Sean, and they're definitely not all, well, at least not directly related to him. But I know Pat Wyman works at Severe MMA, so I don't know. I'm still curious about that. I wonder if maybe Sean will give me that info, or maybe he'll just laugh hysterically at me and call me a big old dum-dum for thinking everyone in Ireland is related, or for thinking that Becky Lynch does his intro for the rewatch instead of his niece or whatever, which I think he's told me in the past. Anyway, real quick, with Mike Swick, his quarantine episode 3 with Rampage was interesting. Oh my god, Rampage accidentally throws Rashad under the bus for buying into 5G and crystals right now, which, I mean, Rashad is doing enough microdosing of mushrooms to absolutely buy into both of those. I bet he's currently working a rubber guard game, if I was to guess. And yeah, interesting episode overall. I liked it quite a bit. MMA on the Rocks, episode 185. Definitely a fun one. They talk about drinking. They talk about, there's some ice cream stories. There's some bee stories. There's a doc about Lee Kemp that Bill recommends. And they also go into some other recommendations of stuff to watch on streaming platforms right now. So if you're looking for content, they're a great reference for that. Also, you know Jeff the Animal Wilson has good taste. It's Jeff the Animal Wilson, right? No, Manimal is, yeah, MMA and Beyond. Jeff the Animal Wilson, you know he's got great taste, apart from living in New Jersey, because, that's just a dig in New Jersey, since my dad's from there. Anyway, yeah, no, you know he has good taste because he's on season 10 of Cheers and still just pushing through. Post Diane, I'm always like, oh, I like this show, but I don't know if I like it enough to deal with Kirstie Alley. Diane was like, but then Diane comes back and you're like, oh, okay, well, I fucks with it. Also, just Norm. Hashtag life goals. Let's see. MMA Roasted, episode 506. What the fuck is going on with that show right now? To be fair, it was entertaining. It was just, I had to turn it off at a certain point, and it's just because, well, I'll get to it, but Eve Levine, Eve Edwards, Tyler Smith, and Weendog are on in the beginning. They talk just to Eve about kind of like what's going on lately, Dean leaving ATT, that kind of stuff, the UFC announcing cards, and how irresponsible it is to hold events. And then Cody Gibson and Hector Lombard both come on to do a presidential debate, which, like, I'm sure this gets so much crazier than when I turn, because I only got like 30 minutes into the debate portion, and I had to turn it off because I couldn't do it anymore. It's amazing. It's the most ridiculous. It's the most frustrating and also dumbest comedy I've seen in a while. It's Cody Gibson trying to talk about how he supports Bernie, and it's Hector Lombard trying to talk about how Trump is obvious. He should be ashamed for not supporting Trump. And it's just, it's a thing, man. If you guys hate political talk, don't at all listen to this episode. It's all it is. And it's just a lot of yelling. Also, it is kind of the most amazing that Hector's internet is absolute hot garbage and just constantly clips out. And also at a certain, because of the way they have the Skype set up, or maybe it's a Zoom call. I'm guessing it's a Zoom call based on how the frames were aligning. And based on who's hosting it, I would assume Adam Hunter's probably moved to Zoom. Hector Lombard, if anyone else talks, he's muted. So he's constantly trying to shout over people, but if they just keep talking, he doesn't. You can't hear him. So It's comical. I'll put it that way. And then lastly, the MMA vivisection. Holy fucking shit. Is this one of the roughest, to be fair, one of the funniest MMA vivisections ever, but one of the roughest fight-wise. I'll just say the fights and you can assume, but it's Brad Tavares versus Aaron Simpson, Volkman versus Castillo, and Coleman versus Bonner. And I'll just say that, well, first off, you know it's legit because Connor and Phil are both drinking, and Phil finishes his beer before the first fight ends and says, I should have gotten more beer before this. And then also they realize as soon as the third fight starts, they're like, oh my god, this is 27 minutes. We're never going to fucking make this. And yeah, it's real good. There's a lot of good jokes in there. And probably will come up again on Saturday when Chris and I sit down to record. So let us know if you guys have any shows that we should be catching, because we're always looking for suggestions. There's so many shows that I try to get to that I just don't have time for. Fuck, I don't have my phone with me because in the other room. Trying to think of shows I have to get to still. The first thing on my list and the thing I expect to be a can't miss for me this week, I wanted to give it a full time tomorrow since I had the day off. And so I'm going to be watching and listening to Heavy Hands, their episode they did with Jordan Breen. I mean, goddamn, you get Jordan Breen on the Heavy Hands podcast and you're having him sit down and do commentary over fights. Are you fucking kidding me? And if I remember right, one of the fights is Karo Parisian versus GSP, where Breen has talked to. I've heard Breen talk about for the last decade how Joe Rogan loses his mind trying to convince everyone Karo's gonna pull it out until literally the last 10 seconds of the fight. I'm very excited for that episode. I think it's gonna be the best thing ever. Let's see. I guess that's about it since I don't have my list of stuff to get to. I will say Polyphonic, the YouTube channel, Polyphonic, is really interesting. Dude does super interesting breakdowns of music. Clearly, I would assume he has a degree in music theory. I mean, considering he's clapping it, like he's like explaining rhythms and clapping out beats and explaining like jazz signatures and shit like that. But it's fascinating, and it's also not just like deep cuts on musical genres and like music theory stuff. It's also just like stuff like how did Riot Girl get started, which was cool as hell to see. Or he did a thing about the Orpheus story, like the Orpheus and I forget. I keep wanting to say Euripides, but I'm not sure if that's right because it's just a reference to the young ones where Euripides trousers, Eumenides trousers. Anyway, I'm not doing anything helpful at this point. My point is Polyphonic does good work, and I recommend checking that out. And other than that, man, Doug Stanhope podcast, obviously. And everybody go support False Idol however you can. I don't know if False Idol, they're a tiki bar here in San Diego, they're a hidden tiki bar in San Diego, located inside of Craft and Commerce. I don't know. If you're ever thinking about making a trip to San Diego, maybe buy a gift certificate for False Idol or for I doubt they have one for False Idol. They probably have one for Craft and Commerce though. Or support any of the, what is it, Ballingy Restaurant Group? Is that who owns, I want to say it's Ballingy Restaurant Group, but I could be wrong. Who owns that? I'm not going to be able to just look this up. I want to say it is, but that's not helpful information for you. My point is, if you're not in the San Diego area and you can't support False Idol / Craft and Commerce, go support anyone near you. Go order food from someplace that is a small business that could use it, that has the 3 people working there who obviously wouldn't be working there if they were sick. Go support your breweries in your area who, I don't know about where you're at, but in San Diego, I know just about everybody's doing to-go. Just about everybody's doing delivery at this point. And it's pretty fucking cool. And so just go support everyone that you want to still be there in a couple months. When hopefully we can go the fuck back outside. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really starting to miss bars and breweries. I'm like, I'm already work at home. I'm not going out every night. I have a home bar. I'm generally making drinks and watching stuff. I'm generally making drinks, listening to cocktails, and trying not to get yelled at my girlfriend for listening to too many. Did I say listen to cocktails? Okay. Well, on that note, probably time to wrap it as I take another sip of this. Maybe should have made that painkiller number 1 instead of number 2. In retrospect. So fucking good, though. You can't even taste the rum. Apart from, like, the little bit of Jamaican. Like, banana funk. But, although I guess this probably isn't even Jamaican. London. Well, okay. London by way of Jamaica because they own everything at one point. Okay, well, on that note, everybody, I've been rambling. I hope you enjoyed this. I miss you guys. I'm excited to cover Saturday when we record our episode because I have a lot to talk about. And on top of that, I'm gonna we're definitely doing a commentary for a movie this weekend, Chris and I. I'm hoping we're gonna record it Saturday and maybe Sunday. I'm still not sure how that's gonna work out. Just because since we don't have like the fight card deadline that we used to, where we have to record and get stuff posted before the card starts. Our schedule's a little bit more up in the air, but let me just say, I think we are going to watch what is widely on the internet, from the research I've done, considered the worst MMA movie ever made. And let me just say, we've already done ones for Fight Valley and Supreme Champion. Actually, we've done a whole lot of bad movies. Those are the better ones. But this one is ranked the lowest on almost everything. Literally almost every list I've seen. If it's on the list, it's the lowest, and it's the one everyone makes fun of. Also, I believe Gary Busey is in it, if that's any kind of gauge for the kind of content we're talking about right now. And if you guys have seen The Ginger Dead Man, you know all about, or especially Evil Bong vs. Ginger Dead Man, you know exactly the kind of content I'm talking about. So, by the way, go watch that. It's really fucking dumb. It's a weed movie, and it's really, really, really stupid. Also, I think Patrick Klepek helped write Evil Bong something? 3, 4, 5? One of those? It's a weird thing. Anyway, I'm going to sign off before I get yelled at anymore by the girlfriend, since it is already later than it should be. And everybody go do something decadent. I will probably not be back tomorrow, since I'm mostly going to be catching up on shows. But Chris and I will be back on Saturday to talk about all the MMA podcasts that we love this week. And try to avoid ones we didn't. So, we'll be back. Until next time, go make a painkiller, y'all. Link in the description for how Greg from How to Drink makes his, because I like that dude a lot. I think he's quite clever, and I think he makes good drinks. So, cheers to that. And until next time, everybody, go do something decadent. Yeah. Bye.